welcome back to Two Goths in a Coffin. I'm Amari.
I'm Jude.
And today we are back with another episode. Well, we don't really call them episodes, but we're back with another radio
episode discussion discussing
yes,
the vampire Lestat.
The vampire Lestat. We are getting into episode 3. We did a reaction for the first one, and we did a discussion for the second one, and we're just going to do another little discussion.
Yeah, I know
this one as well.
We've done every single one a little different, but it's because of the needs of us.
Today's super rushed. I'm going out of town tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so we were like, we have to. That's why I've only seen it one time, so that's just a disclaimer.
Yeah.
Like, I may have missed certain things. I usually like to watch it twice before having a deep discussion, but I am on a time crunch, so
yes,
yeah. So it's going to be more of a initial impressions type of thing for me. I know that Jude has watched it twice, but
we'll see what I remember. My brain is so bad these days. It's so bad. But I literally watched it I watched it last night and I watched it again this morning. So once again, this is going to be a little bit more initials impressions-y because I usually take notes, but once again, we're whatever. Don't worry about it.
We like to be a little thorough most times, but today it's going to be a little more vibesy.
It's going to be a little more vibesy. If you're like, you guys didn't mention XYZ, don't worry about it too much.
It's okay.
It's okay. But yeah, I guess we're going to kind of do this. I think last time when we talked about it, we were a little bit more freeform.
Yeah.
I think for this one, we're going to just go more chronological.
Okay.
So starting from
You're in charge.
Oh, Christ. Starting from the beginning.
This ship.
Jesus. Starting from the beginning, moving to the end of the episode, and we're going to kind of talk about things like as they happen in the chronology of the episode.
All right.
Okay.
Because I also watched it while it was late at night, so I was a little sleepy. But just gonna be very vibey.
Yeah. So anyway, we start right off with the Lestat and Gabriella killing the newlyweds.
Yes.
Which I'm like, it just, last time we saw them killing couples, this time they're killing newlyweds. It's it's just a trend of it, There's things
in that.
Yeah. And also, as like a jokey thing, the way that Lestat pronounced Saskatchewan, I'm gonna think about. He says Saskatchewan. He says it crazy, and I was like, oh, okay. Whatever. But yeah, so like there's this recurring narrative, I feel like, as the episodes go on about like Lestat being very disparaging about what he sees as like the grunginess and dinginess of the modern day.
Right.
It feels like he really hates the present. Like, because he had that whole monologue in the very first episode talking about it, where he's just kind of like, it's dingy, and there's like I feel like even like the Lululemon comment speaks to like a lack of sensuality or pomp and circumstance. And then in the last one, when he's talking about like the killing, he's like, and you don't find invitations in people's pockets anymore because of like Evites, and like there's just like a romance that's lost for him existing in the present day that I feel like you also get in like all of these little monologues he gives about the present day. And I also feel like in a way like he feels more absurd because he's in the present day, and he does like have all this like big romantic vampire like backstory that when you put it in the present day is silly. It's kind of silly.
It feels silly.
But it's also his reality, and I think as we get into it, this episode, I think does a good job of capturing more how it felt rather than Lestat being embarrassed about it. I feel like so far these first 2 episodes, Lestat is embarrassed about his experiences and telling them. He's very self-conscious, which is crazy because he seems very unself-conscious because he's kind of cringe. And I think there has to be like a lack of self-awareness and a lack of self-consciousness that allows you to be cringe. But I think his cringe comes from trying to seem cool.
Right.
He
right.
wants to seem cool and collected and like he has it all under control. And so he comes
Right.
across as more cringe. And so there's certain scenes in this episode that are like more honest, that are also like very sincere, that don't come off as cringy because you can feel the sincerity behind them. Whereas before in the previous episodes, he'll have a big emotion, but it feels insincere, so it comes off as cringy.
Yeah, and I'm glad that we're kind of getting settling
more into that.
This
but
instead, because as we already know, the other two were not. They're not for me. I can't take that kind of tone.
I think I had said in the last video, it's like the what we do in the shadowsification of it all, but especially with the documentary format as well.
And that's what I've been waiting for. So this is what I'm excited for in this episode.
Well, I was going to say because What We Do in the Shadows is a mockumentary. So like it feels What We Do in the Shadows when they're being goofy and then being recorded.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh.
But I'm glad that we're finally getting to the interview part of this like documentary. Because that's what I've been waiting for. Because
absolutely.
the more like crazy energy, which I expected for like the first episode.
Absolutely. But I think it kind of overstayed its welcome by episode 2 for me.
Yes. So that this is a better shift for me. So
Yes. So as we like segueing into this, like he, shows up for the documentary, and sits down, and we get this like scene we had gotten a while ago as like a teaser. But so anyway, he starts off and he does the bit at the beginning of the book, The Vampire Lestat, where he's just like, I'm immortal, more or less, and whatever, still very much trying to cling to this like persona and whatnot here. Like it's still there.
It starts off that way.
And then
it kind of dissolves as we go along. But
absolutely. And like
the white on white violence.
The white on white violence. Yeah, we're like, I think so, because like, it starts off with honestly one of the cringiest song, which is like Long Face, and it's like Lestat kind of explains like his reasoning behind the song Long Face, but also it's not a good song because it is, I don't want to say because it's still insincere, but it is a very insincere song, right? But like Daniel is poking at it because it's like it's there's nothing, like he's like, you're saying the songs are your story, but there's nothing revealed in this song.
Right.
What the fuck like do we get out of these lines? And like Lestat is trying to like, genius lyrics, breaking it down.
Gabriella is like laughing in the corner. He's like, actually.
He's trying to like justify himself. And obviously Gabriella doesn't take him seriously and Daniel isn't taking him seriously. And they start to get into it more and more. And then I feel like when he brings up, I think at this point, like he brings up Magnus. Because he's just like, because he's talking about his songs. And he's like, so Long Face. And then we have Why Do I Have to Feel, which is about Nikki. And then Black Licorice, which is supposed to be about whatever. And I actually did have, when he was just like, your band thinks about, and then Lestat's description of it, that's actually what I had assumed the song was about, as like, I was like, that was kind of my read on it, because it's like all of these like flashes of like, once again, like superficial, grimy, technological, digital age stuff, where he's like talking about like porn and TikTok and like, all of this like fucking garbage that's like being loaded onto him as like he has this first, because apparently he'd just been eating rats, so like now he eats a person for the first time and takes all that in, and it's fucking garbage. It's like superficial and like phone screen bullshit. And I was like, I did get that read on it, and that kind of continues, like I don't know, this like he's like upset, I think, about coming into it now, trying to do what he's doing now in this very post-ironic, everything is a joke, generation that's like hyper cynical, hyper skeptical, and like doesn't give a shit about anything. Because like they even talk about, it's like vampires were revealed to be real, and everyone's like, oh cool, anyway, whatever. And this is I guess it can't date the video because we're doing a thing, but it's like people are talking about like Disclosure Day and how it's like aliens are revealed, and they're like, that's such a boomer view of the world, because like we've had like 3 times government confirmation that aliens are real, and everyone just moves on in 2 days.
I know. Like, that's happened like the past couple of years.
Yeah, it's happened like a couple of times. They're like, we have irrefutable evidence of aliens, and everyone's like, oh.
I mean, I do think it's because like there's so much else going on, so
Yeah.
we're all just kind of like.
And I think it's the same with vampires, right?
Yeah,
like
they're,
vampires are revealed to be real, and everyone's just
I mean,
like,
this was in
cool.
2020.
It literally is when Trump got elected the second time.
Right,
Is
so,
when this
like,
is happening.
everyone's like,
People have
okay,
other
we
things
got
to
other
worry
things to worry
about than vampires. So, like, yeah, and I do think along with that, like, it kind of also relates to me, like, when Armand is talking about, the current age where he's like, you've never been easier to distract.
Yeah.
So he's like, he's like, we could kill people and might see a kill on the news, but you're not going to think about it too hard because look at everything else in your algorithm that's hitting you in the brain.
Honestly, like, thinking about just like real world things that sometimes we see it so much, we get so desensitized that like we just sometimes just keep moving on, and it's disturbing. So
yeah, and I also feel like with like this, I somehow dodged this, but people my age and younger, like, having exposure to like Live Leak and seeing murder videos and gore videos being sent as like a joke to each other.
Yeah.
So like there is a desensitization to violence and to this sort of thing that like Lestat is now stepping into that does recontextualize how he exists, right? So I feel like, anyway, that's a kind of a tangent, but I do think it's relevant.
But,
anyway, just digging into it. But yeah, so then we get onto Magnus when he's just like, your song, biggest fan and whatever. And he's like, where you sing a song by your abuser. And Lestat is like, what? That's not my abuser.
Daniel's like, here we go again.
Yeah, cut back to Louis saying, I am not abused.
Right.
And, I'm not a victim. I don't see myself as abused. And then like 2 episodes later, we have the most overt abuse in the series.
Right.
Like this is unambiguously abuse, and Louis is still like, and then in the next one, he even tries to, it's different when you're vampires, your way out of it. Not. And it's like, it's not. And like, that's the thing about it that like, I think when we approach the show, always need to take into account that like sometimes the character says something and believes it, but it's not true.
Right.
So anyway, so like Lestat is like, he was my liberator. He gave me this gift. He turned me into a vampire. I literally was saying like in some of the later books, like this is how Lestat talks about Magnus, that like he gave him this gift and he's not really a victim because the victims are the guys who were littering the floor and he got to walk free and he has all this power and look at him now, and then like him even trying to say that like Magnus killing himself freed him of the burden of having to feel bad about it when like they didn't form an attachment. So there's a lightness when Magnus kills himself that is a gift really because he wasn't too attached. And it's like, it kind of also reminds,
that's traumatizing as fuck.
That's really traumatizing, especially with everything about it, like that we learn later. And I was expecting this bit to be cringy when it started, but I did find the Magnus music video funny.
It was actually interesting
when it's like the 3 like little like fade-ins of him like lip syncing. I was like, this is kind of funny to me.
I also didn't know how I was going to feel about it, but I think it actually worked.
And I love that it's shot as a music video, TBH, because, like, I feel like the first 2 episodes, the fact that Lestat is in a band and making music has felt cumbersome and distracting to the plot, whereas the music in this episode, really it works. Like, the whole concept, like, finally flows in this episode. And I don't know if it has to do with the fact that this is the least of the band we've gotten in an episode.
But I still love you, Salamander. You're my favorite.
I'm
going to say it every single time.
I'm not saying I don't like Salamander, but once again, like I said last video, I would sacrifice Salamander for more
especially
backstory.
When we consider it, even in the book, we only got...
Yeah.
So,
they're not relevant in the book at all.
And so... can be focusing on...
Yeah, the story and building stuff.
Right,
so, like... I did really like, I thought it was funny. That was the first time a bit that's meant to be humorous, because like there's a lot of good incidental humor in this when like they're quipping back and forth and like Sam as an actor and Eric as an actor are making their lines funny, but a lot of times when they're like, we've written a joke, it's like not funny. But this bit was funny.
I thought this episode, the humor actually like
worked.
for me.
And I think it worked for me as
and
well
also
because
in the music video, I feel like it's similar to what we talked about before, how when like humor has to enhance the horror, and
Yes.
so like that's what this
Yeah.
did. It like because you're like
because especially because for those
it's
of us
so
who read the
absurd
book,
that you're just like
for those of you who read the
no.
book and know what's coming, it's still scary what's happening here. Like
Yeah.
I like the first time I listened to the song when it was first released, like when I got to the line, I know I'm hard to look at sometimes, and then it flipped the entire song and I realized what I was listening to because I thought it was a generic love song. And then that line happens and then I'm like, holy fucking shit. Lestat wrote a power ballad love song from the point of view of Magnus about himself, and that made the song very scary suddenly. Like all of the bigness, the overly romanticness enhances the horror of it all because we know the truth of what happened.
Right.
But Lestat is trying to frame it as this person loved him. It came out of love what he did. And it's like, isn't that what he always does though? The horror he does, the horror that's been done to him, it came out of love though.
Right.
And somehow love can absolve the horror. And it can't. And it doesn't.
Does not.
It doesn't at the end of the day. Like it literally doesn't. And so that's why it worked for me. Because like it didn't feel like it was undercutting by having it there. Because also it's obviously fake.
Because this is the first time also that I felt like this delusions of Lestat
Like this is
trying to like distance himself.
And then for him to say at the end like, oh, there's no delusions here. When he's being delusional at the top of it.
Right.
Like you were saying, like it works. It worked.
It worked for me.
Yeah. And so, but something that happens like, I think maybe around this time, I can't remember if it happens before or after when like Daniel keeps pushing about the stutter and pushing about the stutter.
Yeah.
And Lestat calls for Christine like she's his mom. He's like, someone get Christine. And then she comes in and he's just like, he keeps asking me about the stutter. And he promised he wouldn't.
That was very...
And Christine turns goes, did you ask him about his stutter?
That was
and it
so
feels like she's a mom.
disturbing.
It felt like she's a mom.
It was actually very disturbing. I was like, this does not...
Like, it felt so much like he was calling for his mom to make the man stop being mean to him.
Meanwhile...
his mom is there and she's laughing.
Yeah.
There was a thing I had, because, like... oh my god. There was a whole thing I had written up on I made a whole post about privately.
I'm sure you did.
I'm gonna fist fight you. But like I was talking about like the incompatible needs of like Gabriella and Lestat, and like Gabriella needs to not be a mom. You know, she was forced to be a mother,
right?
And she purposefully sterilized herself to stop having kids because she saw it as humiliating. She described it as, you know, being humiliated by her husband. Or Lestat explains it that's how she told him she felt about it all. So like being a mother is a humiliating experience for her, and her relationship with Lestat is to negate the fact that they are related. She doesn't want to be his mom, and she doesn't want to be reminded that she's his mom.
But sometimes she still invokes it, because in the second episode, she's like, my maker called her his mom. I'm like, what are you doing? So which is it?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Like she keeps distancing herself from it, and then when Lestat puts the boundary, he's like, I want you to stay, but I don't want to have sex. That's when she starts to be like, I don't know how long I'm going to stay, because the longer she stays, and if she's just there to be a non-sexual companion, it will turn into her being a mom.
Right.
And she doesn't want that. And so she starts to be like, I don't know how long I'll stay, because then she has to be a mom again, and she doesn't want to be a mom. But Lestat wants a mom. He needs a mom right now. He needs support because he's burned all of his bridges and he's alone. And so he's calling on like this person who has known him the longest, who's like supposed to be this caretaking figure. He still wants his mom despite the fact that she is not a caring, like she's not like a huggy, you know, type of parent, but he still wants her because at the end of the day, I think a part of your brain is still like, this is my mom. Like, you seek mother for comfort.
Mm-hmm.
But their needs are incompatible because
Mm-hmm.
she needs sexual liberation. She needs to just be out and not tied to anything and not tied down and not need. She doesn't want to be. She needs to be needed. To be needed is horrible. So but Lestat needs her. He's needy. He's a needy guy, and so like it's like he's offloading that desire onto other people.
Yeah.
Like he's offloading it onto Christine. And then I even feel like, back in season 1, he's offloading that need a lot onto Louis as well. Like he needs this to put this somewhere.
Yeah.
And he chooses people that are kind of in a position where it's hard for them to say no about it, you know? So like Christine, he is an employee. And now she's kind of wrapped up in this because she is kind of accessory to murder.
I know, now she's deep in it.
So because he brings a kill and they have to clean it up. So she's tied to it in a really uncomfortable way as well. Like where if she just tries to leave, she's not getting out of it cleanly. She's stuck there in a way.
Yeah. That's the other thing.
Yeah. It's very unfair and exploitative in a way. Not in a way. It is exploitative.
It is.
That like Lestat is pushing this relationship onto her. When that's not her job to be his mom. She can't be his mom. In addition to she can be his lawyer, but she can't be his mom. But she is taking on all of these roles because it's what he's like putting on her.
Mm-hmm. Lestat keeps picking the most racist white women though. But anyways, that
reminds him of home.
No. I mean, yeah.
But yes.
But that also goes along with the other thing there's a couple things I didn't love about this episode, even though I did overall enjoy it the most. I've had enjoyed it the most. And that was the whole Gabriella
and Yarda thing.
Yeah.
That shit pissed me off. Like it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't think that the literal writing of she goes off to sleep with Yarda is bad. I think the execution is fucking weird.
Yeah.
And like because like literally what they could have done was showed them, because we kind of see them talking and her kind of touching him, and then they could have just had it, they walk out and they come back in clearly disheveled, and that would have gotten everything across that needed to be gotten across.
Right.
Which is Gabriella's kind of punishing Lestat for the boundary. And it has a couple of different parallels. I do think it kind of parallels in season 1, episode 3, when Lestat basically starts fucking Antoinette right in front of Louis, when Louis is like, his libido's too low to have consistent sex. And Lestat's like, then I'll find it somewhere else. Like, he purposefully like chooses somebody that's gonna get under Louis' skin. So he like chooses a white woman.
Right.
And then there's also in the same episode, Nikki talking about Lestat fucking Armand openly in the kitchen.
That was
right
wild.
in front of his salad.
That was wild. Not right in front of his salad.
Like he's just like, you went to the hotel, you went in the theater, you did it in the box, you did it here, and you did it in the kitchen. And like it's also a contradiction to Lestat being like, oh, I wasn't interested in Armand. It's just like, well, you were fucking on every horizontal surface you could find. Oh. So like which is it, sir? Oh. I mean, that's what's happening. So there's these things coming up, and so like we kind of see Gabriella do it as well in this moment to punish him. We also, unfortunately, I think there could be a parallel drawn to them seeking a doppelganger to get something that they can't get right now, and Louis seeking out the Claudia doppelganger at the end in the diner because he misses Claudia and he wants to see her, so he keeps visiting this person who looks like Claudia.
That was so wild.
Like,
I know that he had art. And
it bit me.
I know that, we already knew that he said that there's someone.
I just assumed it was a girl who kind of looked like her. I didn't know it was going to be Delaney.
I was like, oh,
wait. We'll get to that. We're jumping ahead, of course. But that is a very David Lynch, like, Maddie Ferguson, showing up like a couple days after Laura dies to be like, I just look like her. Very David Lynch. I think this to me proves
Ooh.
that without a shadow of a doubt, Claudia is Laura Palmer, because once again, these people are using her diaries post-death to make themselves feel better. But anyway, so yeah, we get that bit, which
Get to that.
it's like it was so fucking stupid the way that it was shot, because it undercut everything here,
It
right?
really
Like
did.
that's an instance of the humor ruining the tension
Right.
when it could have. I don't even think it needed to be funny.
I
I
don't
think
think
it
it
could have
needed to
just
be
been
either.
there, and just because it does make sense if you have it be that quiet moment of like, we all know what happened, and Lestat getting pissed because he notices it and he's pissed, and then he brushes Gabriella off at the end of the episode being like, I'm actually gonna go on my own,
Right.
actually, because it also parallels Magnus finding doppelgangers, like the
Yeah.
people who look like Lestat. And so, like, there's a lot of things coming up here with this moment that I think could have been utilized better if they had just not done what they did. I think they were trying to have it be that Gabriella was being purposefully loud to distract Daniel, because they're starting to go down a line of questioning here, but it didn't work for me.
I also
It also
thought
could have just had to be loud, and
I
we don't
also
see
thought
it.
about what you said as well. Maybe it's because, like, since, like, Lestat's narrating it, maybe this was this thing that was
Yeah.
so, like, that's all he
Like,
could
it
focus
was
on.
extremely disruptive in his mind, and so it's extremely disruptive in the show, but it could have been done better.
It could have been, yeah. I
Even if
agree.
he just had the noise of it, that could have worked.
Exactly. Just annoyed. Because, like, I don't know, showing all that was too much. I
Yeah.
think, once again, I still don't know how I feel about how they're handling bits for
Yeah.
Gabriella. So,
Yeah, that's like, yeah, whatever. But yeah, so anyway, that's that bit. Whatever. So then we do get into, like, Paris for
Yes.
real, because he does actually give a little bit of an answer that apparently between the ages of 9 and 29 he had a stutter, and he's like, when did it stop? And he goes, I heard music. So basically he meets Nikki and he starts being able to develop a voice here. So I think that's also kind of beautiful. That, like, when he's on his own with Nikki, becoming his own person, finally he's able to speak for himself clearly and communicate him, like, you know, effectively. And I loved how in the performance and direction they were able to differentiate human Lestat from vampire Lestat.
Oh, yeah.
He carries himself so differently, and you can feel there's like a softness to him and like a tenderness that I think Lestat didn't even describe about himself in the previous episode. I don't think he wanted to admit that bit of himself, that he was at a certain point of his life kind of kind and empathetic and vulnerable, and kind of naive, because when he's talking to Nick and he's like, I love your music, and Nikki's like, I'm not good. And he's just like, I think it's so good though. And it's like
very sincere.
It's very sincere, and I think that's why it like worked. And we do get like these flashes of like intimacy between like him and Nikki.
And that's the other thing, because we saw that weird ass scene with Gabriella, but like y'all can't show us any of the gay shit.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think those allegations are true.
Yeah.
And we need to talk.
Yeah, because like we do get flashes of it, and like they do kind of like Lestat starts to move past it, because I think also, I do think another bit of it, of the Gabriella punishing Lestat, is he calls Nikki his first love.
I noticed that too.
And I think she's like, I'm your first love.
Yeah. I definitely clocked that, and I was like, oh.
She was upset about Nikki being referred to as Lestat's first love, so he starts to undercut their relationship the minute, because he kind of looks at her and sees her reaction, and then he starts underplaying his feelings for Nikki.
Yeah. Not great.
We gotta do something about it.
It's not good.
Yeah, so he starts, and I think, like, you know, grazing over this moment of intimacy between them, because she's there.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to get into it.
That's the other thing. So maybe
there's like in-universe
There's
reasons
in-
for it,
that
but
makes sense,
also
but also
we can there's like what they refer to as
I
like
know
the-
why you really
yeah, there's like there's like in-world justifications for the limitations, the outer world, the Watsonian explanation versus the Doyleist one, where it's
Right.
like Watsonian, he was uncomfortable getting into it because, you know, his mother is there and she obviously started to get a chip on her
Same
shoulder
with the
about
season
it.
2 Luman.
Yeah, where it's like
scenes.
there's not any explicit sex scenes with Louis and Armand because Louis is trying to be
Mm.
respectful of Armand because, you know, he's had his sexuality exploited in the past, and so Louis is choosing to hold it a little closer to the chest. But also
Or we know.
we know what the real reason is. But yeah, so we do have these bits and he tries to graze over it and like downplay Nikki, and, you know, he just refers to him as his bipolar boyfriend.
I know.
And it's like, you can't, I think also because it hurts,
Yeah.
right? Like, everything that happened with Nikki, I don't want to say is Lestat's fault, but he didn't help. And so if he can like play him off as being like bipolar or
I mean,
unstable.
that's what Dano calls out a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Dano's like, oh, he you know, you carried a music box
Yeah.
with you over here, and he suddenly just,
He was a not so great
not-
love. Because he
yeah.
called him a first love, but not a great love.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Nikki is carried over into so many ways of like why Lestat does the things that he does. I think in a way, Nikki was kind of the first, that relationship was the first thing that was his.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it was.
So it hurts to talk about the ways in which he failed Nikki and led to his death. And in this one, it seems like they're having Lestat be more proactive in it by asking Armand to do the thing that he can't do and kill him. And there is a little bit of like a Charlie parallel here, of course, of having to watch him burn.
That's right. That's right.
And also it being the first relationship that's his and not anyone else's, and it doesn't have anything to do with his family. It has to do with this person who comes from where he came from and can understand him.
I mean, like we kind of already knew those parallels were there.
I knew the burning was probably it, but like
burning,
how present he was for all of it.
He was actually like there and watching
Armand holding him in the fire with a poker,
which is
apparently.
why he's so callous with Claudia.
Yeah, he does something that Armand also does with Claudia, which is when Armand and Lestat start to like see parts of themselves reflected in Claudia, they start to punish her for it.
100%.
Yeah, so I think that's also like a moment there where it's like he may have thought that like he's like toughening her up by having her do this, having her develop a thicker skin, but it's like, how did that help you?
Right,
seeing Nikki burn.
You can't be the change, you know.
He doesn't know. Actually, he could, but he's not.
You don't have to keep, you know, these cycles could end. You could do something different, but you know, yeah. Well,
yeah. So yeah, there's like that. But yeah, so he starts to describe like his relationship with Nikki and all of that, and like this, then the other, and we also have, I think, another moment where Lestat is being purposefully, like he's purposefully underplaying what happened with him and Armand as well. I think also because Gabriella is there.
Yeah.
And Gabriella doesn't take Armand seriously, and Gabriella, at least in the books, they fucking hate each other. It has the energy of like kind of like a girlfriend and the mom of the boyfriend who can't fucking stand each other and are always quipping at each other. There's like there is a lot of animosity that, like, you know, we even have like Armand in his retelling pretending like Gabriella didn't exist.
He's like, I pretend I cannot see. She wasn't there. Oops.
Yeah, like he pretends she's not there, and then, you know, here we have, I think, Lestat doing kind of what he did with talking about Nikki, where he's like downplaying it because he's very concerned with how it makes his mom feel. I think in a couple of ways she is I don't say a parallel fully, but like in season 1 where we had fake Armand, like fake Armand Rashid, kind of lurking as they're telling the story, and I do think that influences how Louis tells the story, because like Armand is there in the shadows, pretending that he's someone else that he's not. And then you have Gabriella kind of doing the same thing here, where she's like Sophia, and is just kind of like around and kind of pretending to just be interesting groupie.
Right.
But she's obviously more than that. And Daniel, I think, is starting to figure out that she's more important than how she's been portrayed, because he keeps looking over at her like, what is her deal?
Yeah, what's your problem?
Yeah, so I think that's a similar thing, but like it's disrupting, I think, a lot. Like it weighs more on Lestat's psyche than I think Armand's presence weighed on Louis'. But we do have like reinforcing an idea because Armand is present, like in season 1 where Louis was like, well, Claudia also didn't want to burn him. And it's like, no, that's just what you've been allowed to tell yourself. But that's not true.
Right.
And so we have something similar here. He's like, well, I thought Armand was embarrassing and Nikki was making a fool of himself. And it's like, but that's not how you felt, because when we do get that scene where he is being genuine, when he sees the Nikki like hallucination and then decides he is going to tell Daniel something, but telepathically, so he can't keep it. We see him behaving differently. We see him, he doesn't have like the present day, the vampire Lestat persona. That's just kind of Lestat.
Yeah.
And he's like desperate and he's crying, and like it doesn't feel overwrought. It feels appropriate for the situation. Like, I don't know, those scenes where like he's being genuine and talking about it genuinely carry a lot of weight and like do a really good job. Like it starts to feel like Interview with the Vampire, if that makes any sense.
No, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
But one thing I will say is like with Nikki's turning, I'm disappointed that they took out the element of class.
Yes,
from Louis. Nikki's turning, because it is very important. Because they make it here that's purely about love. He's like, I want you to love me enough to give it to me. But in the book, Nikki is angry that Gabriella got it, but he wasn't deemed worthy enough by the Lord's son and the Lord's wife to be also allowed to have this power, to step up, and like kind of aligns himself with like the peasantry. Like the literal line in the book is like the Lord's son giveth to the Lord's wife. So it's just kind of seen as like this class-based power where like Nikki doesn't get to have access to that. Yeah. And there's like an underlying resentment in the book where like Lestat has a title, but he doesn't really have wealth. But Nikki has wealth, but he doesn't have a title. And these things kind of start to clash a little bit, especially with the backdrop of the French Revolution behind it. I think there could have been that element of class that would help add to the resentment of it all. Because literally it's the bourgeois like demanding that he has the same power as the aristocrat, trying to equal the playing field by being given this power.
We kind of talked about this, but there does seem to be kind of an aversion to talking about some of the social issues that should be included in this narrative that's happening. Class, race, I feel like is not being engaged with as much as it should be.
I don't think it's being engaged with at all.
Like these things are important, and they're also important to like the Gothic.
Yes.
Like the Gothic explicitly usually is like having conversations about social anxieties.
Yes.
And these various social structures and why they allow like rot to just seep
it's
in.
Like the rot in society.
So if you can't engage with that, then you're not fully engaging with
Yeah,
Gothic.
yeah. We kind of talked a little bit about this this morning before we
Yeah.
started
Because
realizing.
I was like, okay, here's a couple of things that I am actually like
Yeah, because
not happy with.
I feel like in a lot of ways, because I feel like in season 1 especially, and I do
It
think it
was
carries over in season 2,
perfect.
but like something we were kind of talking about is like I feel like a lot of times in stories like people of color don't get to represent themselves. They have to represent society or like the specific demographic that they come from.
Yeah.
So Louis, of course, is a very rich character who I think has a lot of very interesting individual characteristics that enhance his story, but his story is also very much tied into the larger socio-political element, like, you know, things that were happening at the time that he existed in. He, you know, is a black man in the Jim Crow South. You know, there's all of these things that are happening. And so these things impact him. And they really have a discussion about how those things impact him. But I feel like white people get to just be individuals and not
Right.
represent society as a whole. So this season has turned very insular. There's of course like we made comments about how they're talking about like 2025 and like this current era as an era, but they're not really tying it into like the social issues that are inherent to this era. It's more like the vibe of the era and
Yeah.
the mindset of it, but not so much like socially what's going on.
And the thing is, like you said, like I do feel like that tends to be the feeling, but the reality is that even with a white character, you have to still engage with these
Yeah.
things because you can't divorce the. They're allowed to exist that way
Mm-hmm.
because they are white.
Yeah, and what I'm trying to say is not so much that they're not tapped into it, but it's that people feel that they can write white
I know, that's what I'm
characters.
saying.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
agreeing
okay.
with you and saying,
Yeah.
I was agreeing with you saying that, yeah, I was just saying, like, I literally feel that they feel that since this is a white
Yes.
character, they don't have to engage as much, but you actually do.
You do, especially because, like, you know, Lestat is white. He is still queer.
Yeah.
Like, there are, and, you know, there are class elements. You know, I think...
It's kind of like what I also mentioned about, like, Gabriella. The reason why she's able to feel as liberated as she does as a woman and a vampire now is because she is white and of a specific class. In comparison to Claudia,
Yes.
she was not able to exist that way as a woman and a vampire because she's black, because she was a young, turned as a young girl, and children are not seen. I mean, children are also an oppressed class.
Yeah.
So like there's just all these various intersections that you do have to keep in mind, even with these characters, because they're allowed to exist this way because of who they are and their whiteness. So like
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was something that that's something I wanted from
That's something
Nikki Stott.
Yeah, and I would also like to see that because I really enjoy when we get into the social issues in the Gothic. I mean, like that's all of them have like Frankenstein, like. And when these current adaptations that we're seeing really lean into that as well, and are not Wuthering Heights, and that's that missing, not that I watched it because I'm not watching that shit, but because the book was having a conversation about race and class, but some people, I guess, don't give a fuck about that. But then you're not writing a Gothic story anymore, so
yeah,
you can't have it.
I think the show is very much engaging with abuse and whatnot, but also, we need to discuss the systems that allow these abuses to happen.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway. But so we get this, and then, something that I do find interesting is how Lestat portrays Daniel as almost getting off on other people's trauma. He looked like he was like
that splinter of coldness.
Yeah, that like Armand brings up, but like I feel like, Louis was being very kind. Well, I guess also we're seeing it.
Yeah.
I think, because like, in seasons 1 and 2, of course, we're seeing it. I think Daniel has like a tighter lid on it. But Lestat is like literally portraying like Daniel as like he's a he's a predator for this. Like he wants it. Like this is him hunting for the. He wants Lestat to cry. You know, he wants to break him so that he can have something.
I mean, he called him a performative journalist.
Yeah, he calls him a performative journalist.
Yes, this is.
But there's something like he almost just like makes him seem like lecherous about it.
Yeah,
and I find that really interesting as like.
I mean, because
Lestat's-
journalism can be too, like
especially because like. If we tie it in with in season 1, him being so insistent on wanting Claudia's pages, and Lestat is not giving him what happened about Magnus, and he's not letting him have on video what he said about Nikki. Like it's not for you. Like you can't have it.
And Daniel's always so damn insistent.
Yeah. And it was a very interesting way to me to have Lestat have this vulnerable moment, because I really did love the performance, like Sam Reed's performance in like that scene, like especially when he like starts to have a fucking panic attack at the end, when he's like, part of what's panicking him is the potential confirmation that there's nothing when you die, because he's like, Nikki was dying, and it was like he knew that there was when you die there's nothing. And in the book, The Vampire Lestat has a long mental breakdown about the idea that you die and there's nothing and you don't get to learn anything. All of the secrets of the world are forever locked to you. There is no big revelation of death. It's just it just happens.
Yeah.
And he's like, he starts crying uncontrollably and he can't handle himself. And so they kind of reference that here when he like brings it up and he starts to like panic and starts tearing off the microphone, and he's like, I gotta get out of here. And like he leaves, and then we see that he did not let Daniel have it.
Daniel's pissed. Like, we don't really give a fuck
about it. And so obviously during this, while Lestat has been having his little, sit down interview, Louis has been taking care of business.
He's out hunting vampires.
Yeah, being like, have you heard the good news? And
yeah.
he kills the guy.
I was like, wait, twinning him, because I used to be Jehovah's Witness, if you didn't know. I've said it before, but so I was like, wow, I had to do that too. But we didn't like
cut
kill
their
people.
heads off. Yeah. And potential reveal that he has the cloud gift?
Yeah. I
or
was
maybe
like,
he has.
hello?
Okay, so this person pointed out that like in the Vampire Armand, before Armand had the cloud gift, he had what they jokingly called the big jump gift.
That's what I think it was. And
he got a big
was just
jump.
like, let me just.
Yeah, he can jump real high. And so he kind of goes
He's
in.
made a little graceful little.
Yeah, very demure. Maybe he can't like sustain flight, but he can kind of float.
Yeah.
Or he can just kind of double jump. Who
very
knows?
cutesy.
Very cutesy. But yeah, this bit where he's going through and like massacring all of them, and then he goes and he like frees the people like stuck in. Also, all I could think of when I saw the people in tubs was, it'll feel like a bath. Like when like Armand is lulling Daniel into the state to accept death, and he goes, it'll feel like slipping into a bath.
Oh, yeah, I don't like that. Okay. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, they are all like, Armand told the truth, and they like the book, so I don't know if maybe they're, like, taking that as well.
They're doing too much.
And so he calls, whatever, he lets them leave, and then he's just kind of, like, hunkers down and is waiting for Bruce to show up, and Bruce shows up. Also, something crazy and dark-sided is, of course, that Baby Jenks has the tattoo in the back of her neck, but Bruce has her name tattooed on this part of your hand. So if you, like, were to hold someone, that's where it would be.
I will say...
I find that very violent.
It is very violent. I do think some people... I'm just going to talk about the fandom real fast.
Yeah.
I do, because I get so annoyed. I do think some people have been doing a little too much on her. I don't know how many people have like read the book, but like in the book she's 14 years old.
In Queen of the Damned, yeah. She's 14 and she's forced into sex trafficking basically to make money.
Yeah, so like the relationship is very predatory. Mm-hmm. He's abusing her. So like this is more than likely not a good relationship. No. I mean, we already know that he's a rapist. So like he probably manipulated her. We know she's young, at least under 21. What was it?
Oh, the age range I think someone had said was she was like between 18 to 22.
Yeah, so like, and we don't know how long he's
They've
been
been
like
together.
manipulating her. So I feel like, some of the words I've seen used we're getting a little misogynistic when this is more than likely an abused girl who's been manipulated into this relationship with this much older vampire at this point. So it's getting weird. It's getting weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's fuck Bruce all the time.
Oh yeah.
But
Baby Jinx doesn't know.
Yeah,
she's a
victim.
Yeah, she's a victim.
But yeah. Anyways, that's my rant. But also, I do have another rant about this scene. It ties back to the fact that I'm like, there are times still that feel like we don't got Black Riders in the room. You can tell because the weird tattoo comment from.
I immediately was like,
I don't know how I feel about that coming from a non-Black writer's room. It's weird. It's kind of loaded. I mean, like, the only thing I got from it was like, well, I guess Louis watched Star Wars with Armand at some point, or he's seen it himself. But like, outside of that, it was a weird thing. Some of the dialogue that Louis has is, I'm like, okay, it's an interesting choice there. I don't think it was for y'all to include that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But other outside of that though, seeing Louis do his thing and
Also, I will say though, whenever I see Louis do his thing, it does make it more and more absurd to me that neither Lestat nor Armand was able to do something about the coven when Louis is apparently able to just walk in and take care of business, no problem.
Well, yeah, they're probably all like
half an hour
fledgling age,
Yeah, like they're probably like weak millennial, vampires, thinned blood, not to use, I guess, Vampire the Masquerade language, where it's just like, I don't got powers, I'm a thin blood, But like he like rips through because apparently he killed 32 vampires in Dubai.
Like y'all could have done it each on your own, but together, imagine like if y'all really cared about Louis.
Yeah.
Like I know y'all don't care about Claudia, and Lestat didn't care about Claudia until it was over, and he realized, oh fuck, and Armand doesn't give a fuck about Claudia at all. But at least you would think for Louis that y'all would have just, but whatever.
Yeah. And so anyway, we get this scene.
Yeah.
Which is Louis, he's ripped out a couple of vertebrae.
That was crazy.
They I was like, what does he have there?
The way that they fell onto the floor.
Loose.
I was like loose. Yes. I was like, God damn.
On the ground. And so he's like stuck and he can't move. And so he's like reading off the thing to him. And then we cut to Lestat in the car, and the minute he gets in the car, well, also he brushed off, I think we mentioned it, he brushed off Gabriella because he's like, I don't want to spend time with you anymore, you're pissing me off right now. And so he gets weird. Yeah, you're being weird. And so he gets in the car and starts to drive, but he is hearing, like, Magnus immediately is there. And we start to get Lestat being unable to prevent the torrent of memories coming back. Maybe at the time he wanted to believe what he told Daniel, because he does have a line about something else where he's like, I said this, and in the moment the words were true. And I think like maybe it's like it's not true. Like he does like see vampirism as a gift. Lestat, loves being a vampire. What would he be if he wasn't a vampire? But that doesn't take away that it happened.
Turning, yeah.
And so it starts to come back to him, and he's like having trouble dealing with it. I will say, the bit that I broke my heart the most is when he immediately just starts quoting the Bible again. In present day, in the car, driving the car, he's still seeking out something to give him comfort, and it's that psalm. It's such an interesting, I think, choice for a character who is constantly staunchly being like, fuck God, but then when it comes down to it, he's scared. And he calls out to the only to
Haven't
what
we
he
all
can.
done that?
I know.
I was like, right?
We've all been in like horrible situations, and like even if you're like not a Christian, like a staunch atheist, you're still like, God, if you can hear me.
You're
like it's like when you have no one to turn to, like he's calling on something because he doesn't have anything.
Yeah.
And so, in a way, like it, you know, it's the only father he can call on right now. But it doesn't really answer. But I did really love that bit. That got me. I was like, fuck. But yeah, so then we have this happening as like Louis is reading the pages. He distracts him his little Ziploc bag he saved them in. And we see the reality. And it is horrible, I think, on both sides. We already kind of knew what had happened with Claudia. She gave a version of it to Louis in Paris, and we're seeing the unfiltered version, the To My Diary version of it. And then Louis burns the pages, puts them on top of Bruce's head, and lets it just kill him. And we see Lestat flip his car, bursts into flames, and he is just like, and then I went and did a show. Like,
okay.
And then we, he starts to perform, but like Louis gets this call from Lemuel, which I don't think it's as casual as he's saying.
I don't think it's that casual.
Because look at the picture he had.
That was cute and cozy.
Yeah, if it's a situationship,
you don't put them on your phone.
You don't give them a contact photo.
That. Like,
you might have them
selfies?
You might have their name because you need to know who's messaging you, but he has a cute little photo of them as the contact picture. I don't think it's as casual. Or maybe Lestat made it seem more casual than it actually was. And he's like, he's only with them for the sex. And it's just like, no, he's with them because this is somebody that maybe it is more casual for sure than any of his other relationships. But all the other relationships are like, I want to knit myself into your skin.
Yeah, they're all like, let's he just opened
and crawled inside. And meanwhile, Lemuel's just like, we should have dinner.
Brunch?
What, because they're gay? What is brunch for a vampire?
I know, that's what I was just about to ask.
Would it be like early evening? Anyways, so they do have this conversation, and you get the vibe from it that like, yeah, Louis did all of this. It didn't fix anything.
It
didn't bring catharsis.
Yeah, as I said,
yeah, there's no catharsis to it. And it kind of is like, it's because it wasn't about Claudia avenging Claudia. It was Louis trying to make himself feel better. And I hate to say that there's a good point brought up by Bruce in that scene, but he's like, why are you doing this now though? Like, you waited until now to track me down. Like, sure. It's been like over 100 years since it happened, and now you've tracked me down about it. Which is a good point, because Louis thought that he would have a cathartic release with the book as well, and that didn't happen, and so he's chasing this to try and get that catharsis, and it didn't happen either. And so he goes to the diner to see Regina.
We already talked about it. That was still wild.
Her name being Regina.
I'm like, Julie, you have to stop. You have to stop.
And her little diner outfit is yellow.
When I saw that, I was like, y'all have to stop too. Stop.
But the thing is, for a split second, I saw her, and because that straight up was just Delaney Hales. I was like, it's Delaney, and then I was like, Claudia. I was like, oh yeah, for sure. Oh God. Because, like, I've seen Delaney with that hair.
Yeah.
That's just Delaney's. That was Delaney's hair for a little bit. So I was like, oh. But yeah. So anyway, I already said this. I have the vibe that she thinks that Louis a creep.
Yeah, Louis, you gotta stop.
You can't just keep going to the diner because, especially because he's not really eating. Because he
I
can't
know.
really eat, so
Louis,
he just shows up.
You're gonna scare her. You have to stop.
And it, like, to me, continues that cycle, right? With, like, what Claudia was for Louis, which is he had this big, horrible, traumatic moment where he lost community and he felt guilty for the role he saw, like, he felt he played in it all.
Yeah.
And so he gets Claudia, and if he can save her, then it redeems it all for him. And then in this moment, he didn't get Claudia back. He doesn't have the catharsis from what all happened. So now he's going to this person who looks like Claudia, hoping that he can get something out of this that will help bring on this catharsis. And I think this moment happening not too long after, Lestat does have a moment of catharsis. Lestat does have this cathartic release through the music because he's actually confronting what's behind it for the first time ever. And that allows him to actually, like, do it good. And, like, let the music do what it needs to do, which is, it's supposed to be his story. It's supposed to be this avenue for working through it all, but you can only do that when you're in touch with what you need to work through.
Mm-hmm.
And so him doing this song, and we kind of see, I also think it's interesting in the car when he's talking to Magnus, he's like, I gave you your song.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he thought that just writing a song about it for him would banish this thing from his mind. It would exorcise this from him. But it didn't, because he still hasn't, look what he wrote about it.
Yeah.
It's not honest.
It wasn't honest.
And, like, that's been the songs aren't honest. We have, like, the song which I think is, like, the most honest song, where it's like, you can't distract yourself from it all. There's nothing that's going to save you from it. You have to just find a way to handle it. And then we have Louis, who is seeking catharsis, and it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
It's not gonna work. But then, at the very end of the episode, we see Alex, the little guitarist, is in an AA meeting. And he's talking about his issues. I don't fucking care. No offense, Alex.
No.
I don't give a shit about you. But then he gives his little thing. And because I feel like Alex is performing, right?
Yeah.
Like, who fucking cares, dude? He's just like, you guys have given... I'm like, shut the fuck up, whatever. So then the guy's just like, does anyone else want to share? And we hear, like, a little, like, I would. Me? And I yelled hello, because he was just like, my name is Arun.
Like, hello?
And then he's like, and I'm an addict. Now,
big old orange eyes.
I want to say, because a lot of people have been like, an addict? Addicted to what? Amadeo was an addict. Armand has experience with being an addict, with struggling with addiction.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially alcoholism.
Yeah.
Amadeo struggled a lot with alcoholism. It's not out of the question he'd be able to draw from something for an AA meeting. People are just like, what's he addicted to? Lying? No, he was addicted to alcohol, though.
You're boring.
And I also think, like, he's doing here kind of like what Lestat is doing, where it's like performative vulnerability.
Yeah, yeah.
Talking about something to feel something, but not actually being honest about it.
I wonder what we're gonna. Are we gonna get to see what he's gonna say?
I have no clue, but what I think is very funny is because in the episode description for next episode, it says Armand goes on an apology tour, and one of the steps in AA is to make amends with those you've wronged. So I think it would be very funny if he's just like, so I'm here to say I'm sorry.
Be like,
I have to apologize to you. It's part of my steps.
It's not part of my steps.
Yeah, he's trying to work through it. And I'm also, like, wondering about it with, like, what Assad has said about how Armand is falling back into old habits. And I'm like, how does this play into that? The going to the AA meeting.
Interesting.
I think because it has structure, right? Like being an AA has structure. You know what you're supposed to do.
Specific steps that you have to take and things you have to follow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Because you have to get a sponsor when you're in AA. What if Alex becomes his sponsor? That'd be kind of funny. And that's how he gets on the tour bus. He's like, so I met this guy in AA. And then Lestat's like, what the fuck?
Salamander's gonna be like, what the
Well, he doesn't
fuck?
know what he looks like. They don't know what Armand looks like.
But he's gonna recognize the name.
His name's Arun. Oh, wait, he read the book!
That's what I'm talking about.
Do you think only one guy could be named Arun?
I'm just saying, might be suspicious that a guy shows up here
with orange
eyes,
headlight eyes, named Arun, who's just like,
he
hello.
Didn't try to hide those eyes. No. Just big old orange eyes.
Orbs. I like to think
Cutie.
that that's how Lestat sees Armand. So even if he did do a disguise, he's like, but Armand has those big bright lamp and like orange eyes. Oh my goodness! Someone pointed out something interesting that there was like that conversation about like not Lestat. I'm gonna fucking kill myself. Armand and his necklines in season 2, and in the AA scene, his whole neck is exposed, and he's using Arun, which has always been a gateway into vulnerability for him.
Yeah.
And then when he's in the theater box, he's covered, buttoned up, and Gabriella has the open V. He is on his guard when it comes to her, and like especially because she keeps probing him about his past.
I know. I was like, hey, back up.
Yeah, I'm like, well, of course you want to know about
fucking
the
Italian
groomer squad's gonna get together.
Disgusting.
But yeah, so overall, okay, so we should talk about.
We gotta
dig
back
into it. We gotta dig in. It's just there's a lot to talk about with it. This is another Watsonian versus Doyleist situation where it's like I can see the narrative justification for why Louis read the pages. I can see the narrative justification for why Lestat uses that to basically talk about his own rape. However, in this conversation about exploitation,
right,
where I feel like both Louis and Lestat constantly center themselves in Claudia and her trauma.
Right.
In portraying that, you inadvertently do the exact same thing.
Exactly.
It's one of those things like where in having a conversation about the exploitation, you participate in the exploitation. And of course there's like a bigger like, do we the audience even have a right to know about Claudia at all? Did we have a right to know anything from her diaries or her point of view? Because on the one hand, for the first time with these diaries, we do get Claudia in the story of Interview with the Vampire as an active voice, but it's at the violation of her privacy.
Right. Yeah.
Like we get to know Claudia's point of view, but we only get to know her point of view by invading her privacy.
Yeah, because that's the only thing. I have very mixed feelings on interlacing Claudia's words with Lestat's, seeing what actually happened to Lestat. Because, like, on one hand, we've already known that these parallels were there, and so now they just made it like very clear. Because I feel like like you said, from a narrative point of view, it's done really well. And it hits the emotions. I do feel that then instead you're using her trauma to center Lestat's trauma. And I feel like we can make those parallels without making it about Lestat. Like, I would even, if we still had those exact same scenes, it wouldn't have like flowed as nicely because it did like flow very well. But I'd rather them be not actually interlaced because at least then we have Claudia's scene that's you know, it's still mainly about Louis, but like, you know, her thing is her thing, and Lestat's is his, and then we can make those connections. And I just feel like, yeah, there's a risk of like centering Lestat too much at Claudia's
I'm also
expense.
wondering about how it would felt if they had done the opposite, where we hear Lestat doing a voiceover explaining what all happened while we see Louis reading, but we don't hear him reading as he's talking to Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's that parallel from that side of like Lestat. Because honestly, the description of the assault from the book is horrifying, and you could have used that dialogue and had still made that very explicit connection, still had that flow the way that it flowed. But not done it at the expense of Claudia. You could have the first lines and maybe the very last line when it's like the I didn't want to be anything thing, and then ending with like I wanted him to feel the way that I felt, you know, like small, that whole thing.
Yeah, because like especially with the fact that like while their experiences parallel each other, they're also very distinct in a way as well, because I mean even if you look at like the aftermath, Claudia goes back into a situation that's still not safe for her. There's no, she's not able to like go around and like, you know, and not saying that, you know, because Lestat got a bag of money that, you know, made it better or anything like that, but like she's not able to escape from anything afterwards. Like her, and even after that, her experience is then used to threaten, like Lestat threatens her with it afterwards. So like, I feel like it's a little bit of a disservice to her to then use that to center Lestat's story as well, if that makes sense. If I'm wording that how I want to word it. But you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. That it's like, you know, yes, this happened to Lestat, and it was very awful. But like you were saying, like he gets this horrible inheritance from it, basically. Like he does this thing and it feels kind of transactional, right? It's just like, here's your payment for it. But he did get paid, and he does get this power. He gets vampirism from it. He now has this power, and he has this money to be able to fully inhabit the status.
And he's happy to be a vampire post later on.
Yeah, but there's like, a whole, he dresses more finely.
What happened aside, after it does give him the life that he, you know, he wants. You know, he's able to be liberated.
He pays not to quote him from season 1, it came at great cost.
Yeah.
But there is a benefit. However, Claudia, because of all of these other, you know, factors with it, there's no inheritance from this. She doesn't gain anything from it. She loses things if, you know, there was a shininess to the world and like that she had and an optimism and a hope that gets crushed because of this experience.
It makes her realize that like she can't travel alone as the Black young woman that she is, and so it like
crushes her spirit,
right?
And she doesn't like it doesn't do it, she does. So like you were saying, like there is Lestat gets something out of it, Claudia doesn't. And once again, not to like minimize trauma, because once again it is still extremely traumatic what happened to him.
Comes back up, you know. And it, you know, it like it shapes a lot, but it's just so that's why I'm just like I don't know how I feel about interlacing it just like that. I feel like it kind of does a disservice to Claudia's experience. But y'all get what I'm saying.
Yeah. I feel like once again, like the scene flowed beautifully, and it did have that emotional impact that it needed to have.
Yeah.
It's also one of the first, not the only, but like one of the first in this season that presents you with information without trying to tell a joke about it. It is just it, and it is raw. And like both of these performances from Jacob and Sam in this scene are very powerful. Like it's cause, and like I had said earlier about different, like it's the sincerity and the authenticity of what's happening here that helps carry it. And it's just, it's a shame that it feels like we get these moments at Claudia's expense. And I understand that's always kind of been the case. Claudia's existence is because it meant more for her to be a vampire in this situation than for her to live a life as a human. They, could have taken her to the hospital. They took her home, or Louis took her home. And so it's like, and, Lestat, we see that he saw what could happen when you turn someone who is not ready to be turned. And he took the chance that that's what happened to Nikki could have happened to Claudia. It didn't, but it could have. But she's always been expendable to them until she wasn't. But even here, they still center themselves. The relation, Claudia is about them. Claudia is about how she makes them feel.
It's never been about me.
It's never been about her. Despite how heavy she weighs on them, they are so self-centered in their grief about it because of how it makes them feel and how it makes them feel about the other things that have happened to them in their life. Because, like, of course, there's so...
My face has been, like, frowny face this entire time. It's okay. I just happened to catch a glimpse of myself in the mirror. I'm like, oh, I'm like...
You're like...
Anyways, but I mean,
but like it's so like there's so many characters who I think have parallels with Claudia. Every character I think has a parallel with Claudia, and it's also a tragedy because everyone projects onto Claudia. Claudia acts to so many people in this narrative as a blank canvas upon which they can put their own issues and their own bullshit onto and see it reflected back on them. But she was a person who had her own feelings on things. And some of those feelings were difficult. But once again, it circles back to the thing I kept saying, which is it's really easy to love someone who's dead because they don't have any expectations from you anymore. And we'll see how this circles back around, because I do have a feeling we're going to see some more haunting, some more Claudia haunting, and she's going to become more present in it all. So I also want to see how that all is handled, because I do think that it could work. Like, I could think back on this and be like, this worked. And I do think like it works as a narrative scene, because people are going to be like, you're saying the scene didn't work. And I'm like, I do think it worked, but I think
was it appropriate? That's one part of my thing. Was it an appropriate way to use Claudia's pain and experience? That's where I'm at. So we'll have to see how everything else pans out, because there are certain decisions I'm waiting to see before I make my final decision. But right now I'm like, even though, like I said, I think that
scene, okay, I had said this at the end of our episode 2 discussion, that because of how it is so scary, the Magnus stuff is my favorite stuff. So I'm so sorry to the Wolf people. I'm so sorry to the Nikki Stott people. But I did win today by getting it to be as big of a fucking gut punch as it needs to be. Because it needs to be that bad. It needs to be that bad. And it was that bad. And it was treated appropriately. With the gravity with the gravity that it needed to be treated with. I am curious about when Magnus is talking about the long table and he mentions all the people that are on it, and he does say the drummer. So, like, has Lestat been contemplating turning Tough Cookie? Because he says a hand, Nikki, a finger, Antoinette. I already forgot the others. Then he said a drummer, and I was like, hello. But then he unfortunately says a pimp. And I think it's because he's kind of saying them as derogatorily as possible. And then we get Mommy, and then we get Claudia. and these are the people at the long table, which the long table kind of has already been set in to represent the family unit, the patriarchal, oppressive symbol of this long table that Lestat was trapped at in the Auvergne, and that he has trapped other people at it by turning them.
Yeah.
But why is Tough Cookie there?
Interesting.
We'll have to find out.
Interesting. Well, I'm trying to see, do I have anything else?
This is, a lot of the times it feels like they wrote a concert scene and then tried to write a scene around the concert scene.
Yeah.
But this one, it felt like the scene was written with the episode in mind, as opposed to the opposite, which I don't think has worked out for them super well in the previous two episodes.
Song?
The scene, the fact that it's performed.
Oh, that's what you're saying.
Like
okay,
the fact that it's like at this concert with this song.
Yeah, okay, I see what you're
for the
saying
first time really feels like it was written with the whole episode in mind, and they're like, this is how we can put this in here, as opposed to it being like, we like this song and we want to fit it into the episode somehow. How can we fit this in here and make it work? And then this is like this, it works as a as a non-diegetic like actual song performance.
Yeah. And I felt that way too. We talked about that briefly.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of all I have.
That's really all I had. I'm sure if I had had time to rewatch it, I would have had more, but
there's obviously things I probably forgot because I usually take notes and I absolutely did not. I just had to remember.
Yeah, I like to take my notes at the second time around usually. But
I did, this episode to me has been the most successful of the three that are out so far.
Yes.
And honestly, it's kind of what I had expected to be the case anyway, even before Roland had said what he said. Well, when he briefly, like a million years ago, said that the first two were very Rockstar heavy, I was like, so episode 3 is going to be for me. And I'm just glad that I enjoyed the first episode more than I thought I was going to.
Yeah.
And then there were bits I could pick at from episode 2, because otherwise I would have been worse off. But I was like jonesing for this one to see if it had the secret stuff in it that was gonna give me what I needed from this show, what I come to this show for. And they did have it for me. So
yeah. I know that this has been my favorite one so far.
Love that came out on Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, everybody.
Anyways. Got the cameras.
We gotta go.
I mean, I guess I close out, I guess. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe if you have things you want to add to the discussion, especially if we forgot something, since
Comment.
Yeah, comment. Let us know. And that's it.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.